I would say the man who is bringing Western wear back to the wild west of the American frontier.
Let's
He
go.
is, from afar, I would say, a craftsman, a manufacturer, and a marketer all rolled into one. I am talking about Nick Wetta, founder of West Major. Get in here, Nick. Get in here, Nick.
Let's go. Look at that.
What an
Yes.
intro.
Yes. Brother, you are looking like Wyatt Earp with that mustache. Very appropriate for the work that you're doing. And American is apple pie with that flag in the background. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for having me.
Man, we have been looking forward to talking to you. I would say, as I spoke in your intro here, you really appear to me as a true craftsman who loves what he does. And what you're bringing into the world, I would ask, just for our audience and for people who don't know, man, give us the motivation behind what you've done with West Major. Why bring Western shirts back to be made in America? Why make it hard on yourself? Why not just outsource it like everybody else? And why do that? Give us the why behind what you're doing, Nick.
Yeah, no, I mean, I definitely ask myself that. I revisit that question often too, but yeah, I just I grew up in Arizona. I always loved wearing Western shirts. And then kind of when I was in my late 20s, I'd always had this dream of making Western shirts, and I was living in LA at the time. And I just kind of started exploring it. And the more I got into it, the more I kind of realized wow, none of the vast majority of Western shirts made here anymore. And that's where the style comes from. It was birthed out of American pop culture. And just being in LA and being around the manufacturing and starting to work with different factories, I just kind of fell in love with that whole aspect of it. And so my values around that just kind of grew the more I got into it. And so, yeah, it's just kind of the hill I've chosen to die on.
Yes.
But yeah, it's I think there's a lot of exciting things happening in that space. And so, yeah, I don't know if I answered your question, but
you totally did. You totally did. Go ahead, Colin.
I was just going to say, I mean, that is a really big undertaking. Most people don't understand how much of an undertaking that is to make in the United States. I did this previously with my direct to consumer company. I decided to make it directly in Charleston instead of going overseas. I think there's a lot of also benefits to that where you get communication, there's, quicker turnaround times. How have you leveraged being manufacturer US as a strength? One of the ways that we did it was it allowed us to do really small sample sizes and basically just beta test a bunch of different SKUs out before we mass produced. How are you leveraging, made in the USA as a strength for your brand?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of kind of the operations and that side of it, I don't know if we have a ton of leverage, to be honest. It's pretty hard, and woven shirts specifically are particularly difficult. But I will say, I think kind of on maybe perhaps more like the marketing sales side,
Sure.
There's only there's hundreds of Western wear brands, thousands of brands that make Western shirts. There's really only a handful that do American made Western shirts. And so, I think just being able to say hey, we're one of the only ones in the world. And, some of our, I was just in one of our retailers in Houston last week, and I was talking to them, and they were like, yeah, we come in here, and if something isn't made in the US, they won't buy it, And so there's definitely a lot of people that, either don't care or it's not a deciding factor, but there is for sure a part of the market that does care. And so we're able to, kind of get in front of those people.
Yeah.
Tell us this, Nick, and I say this being a marketing heavy person. I would say that most of what we're doing in D2C, the majority is really marketing companies. You know,
Yeah.
it's everything's outsourced. Manufacturing comes from somewhere. We get it over here. We make it look sexy and awesome. And then if the ads work, everything's great. And give everybody perspective for those who don't know. Man, what does it take to pull off manufacturing in the United States, woven shirts, etc.? Just give us perspective of all that goes into actually pulling the thing off itself.
Yeah, I mean it's a lot because we source all the materials from the interfacing that's in the collars to the buttons, the snaps, the fabric, and what's tough is a lot of the weight woven fabric isn't made in the U.S. anymore. So we have to import it. Most of the mills I work with are in Europe. So I'll bring it in from Europe, and then we source all the different components and parts for each shirt. We have to get the fabric delivered to a place in LA that washes it by the roll.
Wow.
We have to get the fabric from there to the factory with the fusing, buttons, labels, materials. Then they cut and sew everything, and then get it, and then we get it and then ship it out of here. And so we're just kind of going through that process constantly across, different fabrics in the spring, summer, fall, winter,
brother,
trying to keep certain things in stock. And then, yeah, so that, I mean, high level kind of that's the process. And then you're always kind of tinkering with the fit and the pattern and changes based off the fabric you're using. But yeah, so, we can't really do a 100% American made Western shirt today. But my kind of thought was like, let's start with what we can do, which is cut and sew and some of the other materials, which is the bulk of the cost, and just work from there.
Wow.
So, yeah.
It sounds like a super simple process. Thankfully, it's a really easy process. A couple steps.
I don't know if you can see, I got a lot more gray hair.
That's where that gray came from.
I'm shocked you still have hair right now because that's what that sounds. This reminds me a ton of our conversation we had with an owner of a 3PL in the United States. And basically he can bring everything in-house, and he is doing all of this stuff in-house. And he's kind of looking at new machines to open up his kind of ability to service, so to speak. Because you have all of this in-house now and you're servicing everything in-house, are you thinking about expanding the SKU line out a little more and kind of do some more SKUs that are a little bit more adventurous for you?
I want to hear you talk about that houndstooth flannel, Nick. That's what I want to hear you talk about. That thing is juicy.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's so the actual cutting and sewing of our Western shirts, we contract that out to there's 3 different factories that we work with. I've tried to do that like here in-house in our office. It's just like you have to be so good at sewing on like a single needle machine and so fast. So it's kind of, but then we're making these chore coats. I call it the desert chore coat. We're actually manufacturing those here in Arizona, and then we're putting all the hardware and snaps on in the room behind this wall. So we're kind of we're kind of getting there slowly, and then we're working on a couple new products as well. Right now we've got something interesting happening with some belts possibly. And then some other kind of accessories. So the Western shirt's always going to be like the hero product, but I'm kind of slowly kind of building a world around that. And what's cool is there's some other stuff like, knits, leather goods, some other categories where you can do 100% American made today. So that's exciting.
I've been watching you expand on what you're offering in the shirts and everything. I feel like men are this way. I know that I am. Once you find something that you love, you just stick with it forever. That's kind of how I work, at least. Man, tell me about this houndstooth flannel. I know that you
Okay.
got the corduroy. I
Right.
know that you got the chambray. I mean, you
Yeah.
got a lot of different materials, but I have never seen a houndstooth flannel exist, especially not in a Western shirt form. I mean,
Right.
where did you get this thing? What's it take to pull it off? I can't imagine it's easy to pull
Yeah.
that kind of product off.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, and flannel particularly is tough to work with. It can like fray a lot and stuff in the sewing process. And then, but yeah, that fabric comes from a mill in Portugal that makes like really, really cool stuff. And, I think a big inspiration for me was vintage Western shirts. And I
Yeah.
grew up where I would go to thrift shops and you just kind of go through those racks and like, you just see all this different unique
Yeah,
stuff.
brother.
And that's kind of the experience I'm trying to bring, where it's like, we're not quite there yet, but every time you come to the site, we just have this different collection of really like timeless, easy to wear Western shirts in different fabrics, but everything's also kind of unique and like unlike anything you've seen before in kind of subtle
Yeah.
ways. So when I saw that particular fabric, I was like, this is awesome. I've never seen this before, but it's easy to wear. You could wear it forever. It's never going to go out of style. And that's kind of the decision-making framework I look through when I'm sourcing different fabrics.
Timeless.
Wow. Yeah.
like
I
that.
mean, Chris and I have talked about this on the show numerous times. People are pushing back to the timeless, the piece of material that is going to last them a lifetime. And they're really focusing on this as a buying behavior. I see your what you're building, and I think this could be an incredible opportunity for your influencer program and how you're seeding this out.
Mhm.
Are there people you're thinking about kind of seeding this out to, or people you'd want to work with and basically make your Marlboro man of you guys specifically?
Yeah, I mean, definitely, there's maybe no one off the top of my head, but yeah, I'm kind of always, thinking about stuff like that. And we've had some cool artists and people order our shirts over the years. We made some shirts for the last season of Landman. Which was
Yeah.
cool,
Yeah.
yeah. So that
Big
was
Landman
really
fan.
cool. Yeah, it was cool. I was sitting in bed watching it, and all of a sudden I saw it on the son of Billy
Yeah,
Bob Thornton in
Billy
the
Bob's
show.
son.
Yeah, I was like, oh my God, there's the shirt we made. And then Post Malone has worn our stuff a couple times. Thomas
Sick.
Rhett.
So sick.
So we've had some cool musicians and people wear it, which is awesome. But yeah, kind of to a point you made earlier about the marketing side, like so much of my time has just gone into the operation of the business and just like getting the shirt made. I feel like we've kind of scratched the surface in terms of marketing and branding, and so that's something I'm excited to kind of lean into more as we keep growing.
Man, tell us a story about getting your shirts inside of Landman season 2. I mean, there's got to be a juicy story behind that one.
Yeah.
Because that is a feat, bro. That is a feat, brother.
It was cool. Yeah, one day I just got I think an email from Taylor Sheridan's assistant, and she was like, "Hey, Taylor somehow came across one of your shirts, and he's really interested in them, and maybe putting them in some of his work." So I was like, "Okay." And, so I got on the phone with her, and I think he went to dinner with we sell, there's a store in Fort Worth that sells our shirts, and I think one of their customers knows Taylor. So I think I don't know, but I think they went to dinner one night, and this guy was wearing one, and that's where Taylor, first got exposed to it. So I sent him some shirts. And then like 2 weeks later, the head costume designer just reached out and was like, "Hey, Taylor texted me last night and was like, we need these shirts in Landman." And so that's how it started. And so we kind of made it was kind of short notice. I scrambled to source some different fabrics kind of around what they were looking for. sent them like 10 shirts. And then they were like, we love these. And they, paid us for them too, which was awesome.
Sick.
And then, I kind of didn't know if it was going to make it in the final edit or not, and I didn't want to be too like pushy and stuff. So I just kind of shipped them and like crossed my fingers. And then sure enough, one of them appeared in the second season, which was cool. And like throughout the whole episode, Jacob, the son, was wearing it. So
I love that.
Yeah, it was cool.
I mean, Taylor Sheridan. Is it Taylor or
Taylor
Travis?
Sheridan.
Taylor.
Yeah,
I mean,
Sheridan.
the guy owns the 4-6's ranch now. So
Right,
I think he can afford a few West Major shirts,
Yeah.
I want to see Casey Dutton from Yellowstone in
That'd be
the
cool.
new Marshals
100%.
show, the spinoff. I want to see
100%.
Casey Dutton wearing West Major. I think,
Yeah.
that just thing needs to happen. That's like a match made in heaven.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, there's I mean, there's so many opportunities, and it's kind of crazy because when I, Western wear has always been huge, but I feel like over the last 5 years, it's like really exploded and kind of like just become just more in like the zeitgeist and kind of everywhere right now. So yeah, there's a lot of cool opportunities, and like Taylor, for example, he puts a lot of not small, but kind of up and coming, bands like in his shows. And same with Post Malone. Like he wears a lot of up and coming brands and stuff all the time. So yeah, it's been a lot of cool people in this space.
Have you been talking? I mean, just jumping on that. Have you been talking to Post Malone's manager or one of those guys where, because he has done a ton of partnerships with brands in the past. He just did a massive one with Crocs,
Right?
Where he's a kind of guy where if you approached him and had a serious conversation about it,
Right.
I think he would be totally down. Totally down.
Yeah, I know. I've definitely thought about it. He launched his own Western brand last year.
Sure.
Come on.
So I don't know if like, I don't know. I don't know. I haven't, had that conversation with them, but I'm for it. People have asked me, what do you think about Post Malone's brand? And kind of like I said, he's put a lot of other small brands on the map, and I know a lot of brands that, leather goods and different companies that and he never asked for anything for free, like him or his stylist team buys it, so I'm all for, the rising tide raises all ships, and in my view. And so I'm all for it.
Wow.
Nick, tell us about this lifetime guarantee, free repairs for life, brother. I mean, you're doing something there. I think that combined with, hey, American made, the quality that you're producing. I mean, obviously that's compelling when you buy that. Tell us about, did that feel risky to offer that? I mean, a lot of people in our space would say, please don't do that. Don't do that. Just tell us about making that work.
Yeah. I mean, it's, the shirts are expensive relative to other Western shirts on the market because they're made here. And so I guess I just felt like, one thing we can add is like, free repairs for life. So if you ever lose a snap button or you tear the shirt, it's super rare. Like I probably get 2 people a year that, have some kind of issue like that. But I just say, we'll cover all shipping, have you send it back to us, and then we'll do whatever we can to fix it and get it back to you. And that idea from Patagonia, they kind of have that same process. And it depends. Like, last year I got a shirt. So I don't know what the guy did to it, but he just had like a couple like blowouts, like huge holes. And I have different tailors that I'll stuff to depending on how bad it is. And the tailor was like, why are you having me fix this? Like, you should not be offering this to your customers. Like, this is your fault. The guy clearly like did something. And I'm like, dude, no, we got to fix it, you know? And so we patched it up, and, you know, it looks patched up, but it's kind of cool. And
Yeah.
the customer was pumped. So yeah, you know, it's like the goal is, yes, you're going to pay a little bit more for ours, but you're going to have it forever. And so if you kind of like spread that cost across, you know, 40, 50 years, it's, you know, it's not that much. And a lot of the other brands I'll see, like, you know, they'll just replace the shirt. If you lose like a snap button, you know, they'll just send you a whole new shirt. And it's because, you know, their cost is, the cost to make their shirt is so cheap. It's
Wow.
cheaper for them to just send you a new one, where for us it's like the opposite. It's way cheaper for me to just fix it and get it back to you. So
Wow. I think that's also a testament to your quality. I mean, you just touched on it super briefly, but only 2 people kind of reached back out to you. I think you're going to have this effect, and I don't know if you've already seen it a ton already, where you're going to have a massive lifetime value because of this promise and because of your ability to basically offer a high quality item through and through. And I think I just think Chris and I touch on this trend a ton, that Gen Z and the newer generation wants a higher quality, long-term lifetime piece. I think you're offering that right now. And it's a home run. It's a home run opportunity right now. And you're executing perfectly on it.
yeah, thanks. I mean, I that's how I feel. And yeah, I mean, and I really, I didn't get into this because I was like, oh, this is a great opportunity to make money. It was really just like, I love this style of shirt. I want to make it in the coolest way possible. And like, I'm going to commit my life to making this work. And so it's just like that. That's it. You know, it's like, let's make the best possible Western shirt we can, make as much of it in America as possible. And that's kind of the North Star, you know? So
wow. Nick, man, we appreciate you making the time and coming on the show. Before you get out of here, I want you to tell us what you're excited about in 2026. Anything that you can, you know, sprinkle out there, that's fine. We'll gladly take that. And tell everybody, man, where to find you and where to go make the next best purchase of their life, brother.
Yeah. So we, you know, we're on X. It's at West Major MFG. I'm still trying to get the at West Major handle. So if anybody knows how to help on that front, let me know. But on, you know, Instagram, we're just at West Major. Westmajor.com is our website. And yeah, we're in some retail stores across the country. I think we're in 14 right now. We just got into a new one in Chicago, which is pretty exciting. And then, yeah, we're just, you know, we've got some really cool fabrics that we're going to be turning into some awesome Western shirts this year. Our chore coats are getting better and better. And then, yeah, we've got some new products that like are pretty awesome. Like over the last year, I've been putting myself more in a lot of, you know, just our videos and stuff.
Yeah.
And people have been asking, like, you know, what jeans are those? What's that tank you're wearing underneath? What's that belt? And so those kind of questions that have kind of seeded the next products that we're working on. So yeah, it got some cool stuff in the work. So
smart, man.
Amazing.
Smart, brother. We appreciate you joining the show, and we look forward to having you back, man. You're inspiring the next generation of builders.